Hey there, I'm Dr. J, and welcome to day 5. Day 5 is the last day of our 5-day pain-free challenge. And I really hope that you've been having a great time learning about different various aspects on how to get rid of pain, from mindset to progressive overload and mobility. So when you're going through day 1 all the way through day 4, it's very hard to kind of put this all together. So I wanted to recap on some of the ideas and interventions and things that will help you to get back to sustainable pain freedom. And so pain is something that's extremely chronic. It can be debilitating, it can cause a lot of fear and uncertainty. And oftentimes that leaves us stuck, that leaves us in a lower quality of life. It's very hard to get back to the things that you want to do. And so I just want to let you know that I empathize with that as somebody that's dealt with chronic neck and back pain myself, and somebody that had tons of worry about what the future held for me. There was moments in my life where I didn't want kids because I was like, hey, if I can't even sit for 10 minutes, who am I to have a child and to not be able to pick them up or not be able to take care of them? And so I was able to devise my own plan, my own interventions. I tried to do that with other people's help, like chiropractic and massage, and none of it was helping long term. And so I think I said that in day 2, and it wasn't until I was able to look at the research and really dive in and really strengthen my mindset, strengthen my body to the point where I live a relatively pain-free life. And we've done that for 3,000 plus people to date over the past 6 years. And we help people nationwide and worldwide. So here is the 5-day challenge. I just want to say congratulations because you've made it. And whether you're watching just right now or whether you're just catching up, I'm proud of you. I really hope that you had a great experience. And so if you needed to go back to any of the days and you wanted a refresher, this is on my YouTube channel, DrJasonWonPT. So feel free to go back to the same days to rewatch these things, especially if you need that notable reminder. So today I wanted to help kind of figure out what comes next, what's after the 5-day challenge. And so obviously with the 5-day challenge, you can take the information and just roll with it, and feel free to use these interventions and apply it into your own life. If you feel like maybe it's information overload, you're not sure how to do it, or maybe you have some fears and uncertainties on doing this on your own, you can see that the QR code is up above. Feel free to book in for a free consultation. The next steps that you'll do if you scan the QR code is you're going to fill out an application. Feel free to give us some details about what sort of pains you're going through. After that, you're redirected to a calendar page where you can actually book in for a free consultation with me and my team. And that way we'll be able to devise a strategy plan with you and see if we have any potential solutions that can help you, or potentially if you decide to work with us, that always kind of makes things a lot easier. You feel more certain about the plan ahead, and it's much easier to implement the plan once you're actually working with doctors of physical therapy that really have been doing this for a very long time. So here's some of the things that we covered over the past 4 days, and we'll cover that again and recap. So day 1 was empowering your brain to beat chronic pain. Day 2 was the number 1 mistake that keeps a lot of busy parents and professionals stuck in pain. Day 3, we're going to talk about the power of mobility and activation and not just stretching. Day 4, we went through strength training, and being that is the catalyst and the main thing that's going to keep that chronic pain from coming back ever into your life again, as long as you are strength training consistently. And then lastly, day 5, which is today, which is putting it all together and trying to simplify the process as much as possible. So let's talk about how we are going to empower your brain to beat chronic pain. If you need to, go back to day 1 to have a more detailed sense of this. But essentially, what we talked about in day 1 is that the body heals, but the brain doesn't, right? So a lot of times when we go through an injury, there's oftentimes maybe a little inflammation. There might be some muscles that have gotten strained. Sometimes we injure different ligaments and joints in our body. But over time, because we are human, the human body is capable of healing through time, through nutrition. We oftentimes will rebuild our body in our sleep. So after an injury, you keep sleeping, you usually recover from that injury. But sometimes the brain doesn't. So the brain has a learned response. Now that you've hurt your low back, now you remember what happened, and that oftentimes will kind of make you second guess yourself. You're like, I don't want to bend forward because I've been in this situation before. So it's oftentimes that even though your body's healed, fear and uncertainty is actually what keeps the pain there. Our brain is extremely powerful. And we talked about this in day one, how even small singular inputs to the body can lead to an array and a multitude of different outputs, meaning that, let's say you bend forward, your body is already sending feed forward loops like, ooh, I'm fearful, I'm hesitant. So it starts to guard, your muscles get tight automatically as a result of trying to protect your body from pain, but it's actually keeping you stuck in pain. And so disablement is a product of our beliefs. It's less about our physical capabilities. People that oftentimes go into disability, or let's say you take time off work, yeah, there might be maybe a little bit of like weakness that has arise or over many months of dealing with chronic pain. But disablement is more disablement of the mind. Is that when our mind is not feeling resilient, when you feel fragile, when you feel helpless, okay, these are all derived from our thoughts and our beliefs about who we are as individuals. So when we say we're stuck in chronic pain, some people say, I am a chronic pain sufferer. I am chronic pain. But I want you to just understand that pain is just a small entity of who you actually are, and that you should not be governed by pain. You should be the one that's on top of pain. Pain is just a small entity of your life. But if you perceive that pain is much bigger than it actually is, that's when it starts to overwhelm your life. So what we do with a lot of our clients is we teach them the right mindset. We start to expose them to different stressors, and exposure is key, right? So you don't really know your limits and can't expand them without approaching it. And what that means is that I've had clients that say, like, I can't bend forward, I can't pick up things off the ground. And I say, why? It's because every time I do, it hurts so badly and I always injure myself. And I always say, like, okay, well, if you try it with me or you try it with our team, and we do it in a way that's not as threatening to the body, believe it or not, even within just one session, our clients have these aha moments like, oh my gosh, I can actually do it. And that opens up windows of opportunity to improve your function and improve your strength, right? Because it opens up doors. Once you figure out what's on the other side of the door, that's when you're like, oh, it's not that bad, right? Have you ever been in like a haunted house, right? You think of a haunted house and you're afraid to open up certain doors because there might be a clown on the other side. There might be a scary werewolf on the other side. So you're like, you know what? I don't even want to open that door. I'm just going to play it safe. But playing it safe, it's like you never actually even try to do sports again. You never even try to do certain activities again, out of fear that you might hurt yourself. But if you're doing it with someone, especially experts like us that have done this for thousands of people in the world, is that you don't feel as fearful because we tell you exactly how to move. We teach you the right ways to move. And we teach you and we try to tell you, hey, this is actually what's on the other side of the door. And when we're telling you what's on the other side of the door, then you feel less fearful of actually opening that door. Once you open up that door, then it opens up all these other avenues for you to really pursue those harder activities, strengthening, hiking, doing sports that you haven't done in a long time. Clients with chronic knee pain that stop running because their doctors told them you're going to blow up your knees. We get them back into running. People that have said that weight training is bad for your back, so you stop weight training. That actually keeps you weak. So that actually leaves you more vulnerable to getting hurt again. We teach people how to strength train again and how to really build that resilient mindset. So pacing, exposure, gradual return to activity, we help our clients with that, okay? So one of our clients that has lived in a state of fear, that had chronic neck and back issues after having kids, she just stopped trying. She was like, you know what? Like, this is my life now. I'm just gonna stop weight training. I'm gonna stop doing things because she was just so fearful of hurting herself. She hurt her body so much in running and weight training that she just stopped. But little did she know that was keeping her extremely limited in life. She felt like she wasn't being a good mom because she was just skipping out on activities with her kids. And if you just watch, and it's just a quote from her, she said, this week, after being in the gym for a long period of time, I've been feeling stronger and was able to push myself in ways that I was too scared to do before. And that word scared, being in fear, she was no longer fearful because we paved the path for her. Okay, so I'm very proud of our client, Van. So let's talk about day two. Day two is, we talked about one of the number one mistakes. And I say the number one mistake because many people go down this avenue of pain relief without considering doing some of the other stuff that's going to lead to more long-term results, or doing things that are harder but actually are going to yield the right path, right? A lot of us take the easy route out. And so the easy route for a lot of people is passive modalities. One of my favorite quotes from a 2017 article is, passive modalities are a short-term fix at a long-term cost. So passive modalities is where you are a recipient to the treatment, but you have no active involvement. This is like you getting a massage and you just simply give them a credit card, and all you do is just lay there and you get a massage, you feel better getting off the table, but you haven't learned anything from that massage. You haven't learned how to move better. You simply just got treatment done to you. This is the same thing with acupuncture and chiropractic care, and even certain physical therapists, where 80-90% of their treatment is all manual therapy. They think that they have the hands of God, and they think they can just massage the tissues away. And they honestly think that they're doing a good service to the person. And it is a good service. However, I don't do that anymore. Like, I used to think I had the hands that can just magically wipe people's pain away. And I'm still very good at it. Ask my wife, ask some of my friends. I'm very good at still doing some form of manual therapy. But manual therapy only encompasses 5 to 10% of what I do. And a lot of our clients that work with us virtually, they don't get that manual treatment, right? So we really just teach people how to do it by themselves. We teach people the right strength, the right mobility exercises. Obviously, from day one, we teach them how to develop the right mindset, to not fear doing hard things again. But if you just rely on passive modalities in isolation, it's never going to lead you to sustainable pain freedom, right? And how do I know that? It's because I was a part of that. I was somebody that dealt with 5 years of chronic neck and back pain. I was told that I have a spine of an 80-year-old. I was stuck in fear because a chiropractor told me I had a spine of an 80-year-old. And I believed it. I internalized that. I identified as that, and identified as a person in my 20s that was fragile, and that I needed passive modalities to fix or align the issues. And little did I know, I spent over $6,000 just kind of spinning my wheels. And eventually, it was just like, I was just this repeat customer, right? I was just repeat customer going in and out. And every time I got treatment, I felt better for maybe a couple days. At some point, it was just a couple hours, and then my pain would just come back. So you see that the long-term cost is these things here. Money, right? Money, spending lots of money, our hard-earned money, spending lots of time, right? Time is the most precious commodity, right? So I'm spending all this time driving to an office and then getting some manual treatment done, driving back home, and then days later, I just feel the same pain, so I just drive back, right? That's a lot of time on my end. And lastly, it's the memories. What was I missing out on in my early 20s? I was missing out on memories with my friends, memories with my families, right? I was saying no to activities I usually wanted to do, but I was just so fearful of hurting my body. Okay, and I want to let you know that money, time, memories, the time that you spend getting manual therapy is time spent away from your loved ones. It's time spent away from the activities and the things you want to do. So if you suddenly then think about how you can get more active, right? Think about it this way, I want to say this and I say this to all my clients all the time, is if you have goals of being active, you can't just use passive modalities as a means to getting active, right? Passive is the complete opposite of active. So you can't just use passive modalities in isolation if you're not willing to put in the hard work and to actually get active again. So the active stuff is actually picking up dumbbells, right? The thing that helped my neck the most was actually simply just doing dumbbell shrugs. I have plenty of YouTube videos displaying almost the exact exercises that I did to fix my own neck and back issues, right? And that's all stuff that's on different parts of my YouTube channel. Obviously, if you want to implement that with us, feel free to scan the QR code and to apply it and to book a call to see if we're the right people to help you. But like I said, exercise is the active treatment, which mitigates the need for passive ones. So you can, I once in a while get a massage once in a while. It's my way of as a business owner, my way of outletting some stress. I work out really hard, so I have a lot of beaten up tissues and things. And, massage is a great way to recover from strenuous exercise, but I by no means rely on passive modalities anymore. I don't rely on chiropractic treatment. I love getting them once in a while, but it's only as a way for me to spur on more activity. Okay, so that's the mistake, is using passive modalities in isolation versus I may use some massage gun or I might get a massage once in a while, but it's a means of getting me to recover faster so that I can get more active. Okay, so use those exercises means as the catalyst to getting long-term results. So if you see above, there is no shortcuts to becoming more able, right? You have to empower yourself to do the hard work. And so this is one of my clients here. And, you can just read it verbatim and feel free to pause. But she just said that, I retreated to bed. I felt hopeless. I spent thousands on everything imaginable, from chiropractic 3 times per week, dry needling, lasers, every cream or device you could think of, infrared sauna, even had my husband massaging me every day. But in reality, though, she felt like a burden. She was a mom. She had 3 kids. And so you could see that once she started to work with us, she said, I needed to take action. And so when I gave her the right tools, I was able to become pain-free and quickly. And I'm so happy to be pain-free and have my life back. I don't have to beg my husband for a massage anymore. Now, if I get a massage, it's just a treat. And so you see this, it's like, now I can do all the things I want to do and live my life and be active with my kids. And that's the biggest part right there, is that she no longer needs passive modalities, and she was willing to do the hard work in order to get more active with her kids, in order to have the life that she wanted. So like I said, top right, feel free to book in for a consultation with us, and we would love to speak with you. And even if we're not the right people to help you, we find out that it's not the right things, then no problem. We can at least provide some resources or some video tutorials that you can follow. Okay. So day 5, the power of mobility and activation, and not just stretching. I think a lot of people think that they need to stretch. So when they have pain, when they feel tight, they need to stretch the pain away. But let me just define what mobility versus flexibility actually is. So flexibility is strictly about range of motion, and it's just tissue lengthening, versus mobility is being stable, coordinated, and strong within that available range of motion. So an example is somebody that kind of bends forward and just tries to touch their toes. That's just a product of how flexible their low back is, and also how flexible their hamstrings are. But it doesn't mean that that person's, just because they can touch their toes, doesn't mean that that's decreasing the chance of injury. I've seen so many people in yoga be able to get their head between their legs, and they have limitless hamstring flexibility, but they're not strong. Their hamstrings aren't strong. So therefore they're continuously hurting their hamstrings, or hurting their hips, or hurting their low back. Okay. So the definition is, I want you to understand what I'm saying here, is mobility is being stable, coordinated, and strong. So if that person's able to bend forward, but be able to do that with 20, 50, 100 pounds of weight, that's the definition of mobility, is being strong within that available range of motion. So how can you become more mobile? Well, you can then start to incorporate bands, you can start to incorporate weights, or anything which is gravity resistant. So gravity goes straight down. So anytime that you're putting your body under a state of gravity, or even if you're adding gravity plus the resistance of bands and weights, that means more to me than just being flexible. Okay. And a hot tip just for people that want to become more mobile as they get older is move far more than you sit still, because our society nowadays, even you watching this video, you're likely sitting somewhere, you're likely standing somewhere, but you're not moving right now, unless you're like listening to this while walking or something, like a podcast, for example. But too many of us are sitting still. So a lot of times, even if you do mobility exercises, and even if you gave you mobility exercises, that becomes counterintuitive when you're sitting far more than you're moving. So try to incorporate a lot more movement even during your workday, or let's say you're playing with your kids. I love to just sneak in a little bit of movement snacks as I'm playing with my kids. I try to do side planks, or I try to put them on my back and do push-ups. So those are all movement-based things, and you don't want to lose your mobility. So that's just a hot tip, is try to think about how many hours am I sitting, and then audit yourself and be like, well, how can I incorporate more movement throughout the day? All right, and this is just Dylan, one of my clients here. Really quickly, he went through one of our programs, and he said, Dr. J has not only relieved my chronic back pain, but he has taught me tools to prevent them from coming back. I felt instant relief after just one session with Dr. J. after implementing stretching routines, pre-workout warm-ups, post-workout. So essentially we incorporate a lot of mobility exercises in different facets of his life, from being at work, to doing pre-workout stuff, to even learning how to recover properly, doing mobility stuff. He said, I've never felt more mobile and pain-free in my entire life. And I've been able to reach new limits and hit ranges of motion I never once fathomed to reach. And there's a lot of people that try to achieve more range of motion and more flexibility. And it's because they're not adding in resistance training. They're not adding in mobility exercises that involve gravity resistance, weights, as well as bands. All right, so lastly, let's talk about day 4. So we kind of going in order here, but strength training, I think, is the catalyst and the most sustainable thing that if you can promise me that after today's training that you can start to incorporate some form of strength training, that's really going to kind of solidify pain freedom. You can do all the mobility exercises from day 3. You can try to change your mindset. Even in day 2, you could try to turn away from passive modalities and not relying on that and start to get more active. But if you're not on a progressive overloading protocol where you're continuously getting stronger, then I can argue that, a lot of the other things are going to be null and void. You have to incorporate strength training too. So why strength? Is because 1, it builds capacity. Okay, capacity is your ability to be able to handle prolonged walking or handle carrying your kids for a long period of time. Is to handle any task or any sport for a long period of time is what we define as capacity. Strength training will also prevent future injuries with things that used to cause you pain, so like bending forward, for example. And also strength training allows you to move efficiently with less strain. So the more you strength train, the more that you progress intensity in the form of weight, so you continuously increase weight or increase volume, your body becomes mechanically more efficient, your body becomes more coordinated, your body has to be able to brace properly for even heavier movements as you start to lift heavier. So you move far more efficiently with the form of strength training. Now, some people are like, I never really thought about how strengthening relieves pains. Well, there's actually different types of muscle contractions that determine the intent and outcome. So a lot of people, if they do more isometric stuff, which is more like planks and wall sits, those are considered isometrics where muscles are under tension, but there's no movement involved. Isometrics have a lot of analgesic property, meaning that when you incorporate certain isometrics, it can immediately reduce pain. And I always say this, the second one is really important, which is loading into pain versus avoiding. I actually just saw 3 to 4 clients today, and I said the same thing, that when you learn that instead of stretching the pain away, which I'm stretching like my neck, you load into the pain, that actually has been shown to be far more effective and get way better results in terms of relieving pain instantly on the spot, especially when you learn to load into pain. So an example is if, for example, squat and I have pain in my knees, and that's pain with extension, right? Because we're extending and locking out our knees, is instead of avoiding or just stretching it or try to massage it, is instead you want to load extension. So you want to do leg extension machine, or you want to do a leg press, for example. Your knee will feel so much better long-term by loading into the direction of pain. And strengthening, honestly, it's actually low risk. Even though some people have hurt themselves with weight training, it's relatively low risk. The biggest risk here is if you take what I said in day 4 and you just decide, I'm just going to stay weak. Being weak is far riskier than trying to get strong. So even if you feel a little bit of strain, you feel a little bit of pain after strength training, it's actually the long-term gains is that you're going to have way less pain in the future because you're building those tissues up. You're building stronger and more robust musculoskeletal tissue that's going to support the joints, that's going to make you feel more aligned. And again, it's going to make you feel mechanically more efficient and move better through life without far less risk of injury. All right. And this is one of my clients I'm definitely proud of, who had a very severe disc and low back injury. And he just DM'd me months later after he was done. He's like, Jason, I just want to give you an update. I went on a backpacking trip. This is somebody that had a severe disc injury as well. And this is somebody that's now running 40 miles, doing 10 plus miles, snowboarding, able to lift 300, 400 pounds off the floor. And again, this is the power of strength training. Not just that, on top of being way stronger, he actually lost 27 pounds, which is incredible. So it's just about the work ethic that you put in there. Okay. So a lot of our clients have these frequently asked questions. And so I just want to go through some of these in case you had any specific questions. But like I said, the QR codes are there for you, and I really, really encourage you. And you don't have to, but I really encourage you to apply. The worst thing to happen is you apply, book for a call, and I always say that we're a good fit. Whenever somebody's actually working with us, a lot of amazing things happen. Your mindset changes, you get stronger, and you have the tools so that eventually you can fire us and say, we don't need you anymore. And that's the hope. Our hope is actually see you as little as possible. That's very counterintuitive to many healthcare practices where they want the customers, they want people to keep seeking out their services, but that's not us. We want to just equip you with all the tools necessary to become the best version of you, so that eventually, again, you can kick us out, fire us, and the goal is to see you as little as possible. But here are some of the excuses that we do see with a lot of our clients or people that want to work with us. I don't have time to exercise. And I understand that maybe you're a busy parent. Maybe you always say that, like, my time is not my own. I have my kids to take care of. But you know what? It takes far more time to drive somewhere to get treatment, right? It takes just as much time, especially if you're weak and that you have to take many breaks. It takes far more time when you have to do certain chores at home. It takes twice as much time to get those chores done and to get your kids ready for bed, or to do all the different minutiae and tasks that you do as a busy parent when your body's weaker and when your body moves slower and when your body's in pain. So if you decide, hey, I'm going to exercise, and you take the time to exercise, you're going to move much faster. You're going to be more productive. Your brain's going to start thinking more clearly. People that exercise more actually can think more clearly and are way more productive at work. So that actually saves you more time in the long run. Okay, so like I said, time is our most precious commodity, but you're seriously losing time by not exercising. So if you've ever had this objection to, I don't have time to dedicate to a coaching program or to exercise, think of it this way. You're just far more slower and you're far less productive when your body's in pain and when you move slower. Okay. So like I said, if you want to, feel free to book in and apply to book a call with us and to see if you're the right fit for our coaching program. And I've heard this before, because maybe people are skeptical. What if it doesn't work? What if I tried everything? And what I always say when you said you tried everything is, did you actually try a lot of things all at once, but didn't stick to it, right? Because if you're like, I tried this manual treatment and this manual treatment, I tried PT and all this stuff. Did you actually stick to anything consistently? In order for me to get out of chronic pain, it took me a month to really start feeling a difference, but it took me years of strength training to really feel that, wow, I'm completely out of chronic pain. And that's the problem with our society, is that we're a quick fix society. We want instant gratification. And so we try things, and yet once we start to feel like a flare-up or once we start to feel pain, we immediately give up and we try a different thing, right? This is like that shiny object syndrome. So clients that work with us have that expectation that, you know what, I'm here to change my lifestyle. I'm here to change my habits. And I promise you that if you do work with us and you do stick to our plan and you do it even beyond our time working together, is that you will see light at the end of the tunnel, right? So when people say, it didn't work, I didn't try everything, I always say, like, did you actually try it consistently enough? Did you try it even after you stopped that treatment, right? Did you keep going? Okay, because that's the problem, is that when you're working with someone, yeah, you might be putting in the work, or maybe you try manual therapy, and yeah, clearly, once you stop, then the pain just comes back. But even if you did something more active, you're like, oh, I got a personal trainer, or I hired a physical therapist. Did you keep going? Did you actually keep doing the work even when you were isolated and alone by yourself, right? Because that's the key. And so what we preach in our program is really how to build solidified habits so that you can continue this process forward, okay? So I also understand that just trying it yourself seems safer, and you're like, hey, I've been burned over and over again, but if you're gonna use that as an excuse and you're gonna be skeptical about everything, then you're really not gonna allow anybody to really enter into your life to really make those meaningful changes with you. I always say that, as well as my team, have the most empathic and the most supportive team in the world. So we keep our clients accountable. We see if they're doing the work. We call people out, when they're not doing the work. And I think that's where I really take a lot of pride in, is being the most passionate coach out there and really making sure that our clients are actually doing the work. A big one here is for so many parents, especially moms, but also dads as well, is feeling guilty investing in your own health, investing time or even money into your own health. But we invest money into many things: our house, our car. We invest money into our kids' sports programs, all that. and anything that's important to you is worth investing in. So if you invest time, you invest a little bit of your monetary, if your health means anything to you, if life means anything to you, why not invest into yourself, right? Because if you continue to pour from an empty cup, then eventually you're going to run on empty. Eventually that cup's going to run dry, and eventually you're going to injure yourself or have ongoing pain. Life is too short to say I'm not willing to invest in myself, right? And I invested heavily into myself. I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into my garage gym, invested equipment, invested more knowledge, invested more time into learning systems that really help our clients. So I want to let you know that I don't want you to feel that guilt, because once you invest time and once you're a better version of yourself and you're stronger and more pain-free, that's when you're able to pour from a much larger cup. And that's when you can have greater memories, not just with yourself, but also with your kids, getting back to the activities that you want to do. All right. And so I want to just blatantly say that, when people ask about insurance, I think a lot of people have the expectations that this is, when people work with us, it's more of a coaching experience. We don't accept insurance because legally we talk about insurance and other stuff. And so there's a lot of things that insurance doesn't actually reimburse us for, in terms of like mindset and habits as well. So these are things that honestly, we honestly can't get reimbursed for. So if this is something transparently, if you're looking for something like a program that's strictly through insurance, we're probably not the right people to help you. But if you're looking for a premium coaching experience where you really make lifelong changes and where it potentially saves you a lot of time and money in the long run, because you don't have to seek out constant manual treatments and seek out multiple programs. I always tell people that we hopefully are going to be the last program that you'll ever need in your life that's permanently going to get rid of your pain. So if you're willing to go outside of the insurance route to work with us, I think we're the right people to help you. So just a couple membership success stories here. And like I said, the QR code's up there. One of our clients said, I can't recommend Dr. J and his team enough. Struggled with years of pain, had a couple hip surgeries, had severe limitations in terms of activities. And he's been consistently impressed with the knowledge that he's gained, how he's built strength and power. And he was in his late 40s as well. And the programs are creative, they structured, they not just helped alleviate his pain, on the bottom, but also it got him prepared to do the sports activities I love to do. And he wished he just found this years ago, and it would have saved him a lot of heartache and time and money. And there's one of our clients here. She said, hey, I worked on my mobility exercises. The weight training and bands have really helped. She went on vacation and she did it with minimal to no pain. I know so many clients have tons of pain sitting on an airplane and walking for long periods of time, but she did it with no pain and she was able to get back to enjoying time with her family. One of our clients here, we have a lot of coursework. And so she had said the coursework has been so amazing. It's really changed her mindset. She becomes so much aware of her fears and anxieties that was holding her back, and so much has resonated for her. And this was somebody, Beth, that was just in our program for less than 2 days. And she really started changing her mindset right from the get-go. And lastly, Anna, one of our favorite clients here, she talked about habits, and she talked about how this was the one program that amongst all the programs that she'd been through, that it's the one that really changed her life and really gave her hope and gave her the right structure on how to log her workouts and to really make exercise as easy as brushing her teeth. And so she really developed the habits. So eventually, like I said, she fired us, she kicked us out of her life. And I'm so happy for that, because now she has all the tools to get rid of her own pain. So if you're interested here, I can't say this enough, but feel free to book in, scan the QR code, book in for a free one-to-one coaching session to see how we can help you become the best version of you. And I really hope that you take up this opportunity, and I really hope that you had a great time in the 5-day challenge. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate you, and I hope to see you on future trainings. Feel free to like, subscribe, and comment, and support my channel. I'm really trying to grow this channel and put this message out there. So you do a great job. You really be supporting my channel if you do support, follow. And so thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.